those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet. We're going to have a great show for you today as usual. But beforehand, we want to go to the studio. Welcome to Politics Done Right. Whoa, we got a problem, but we are going to solve it real quickly because I think I know what it is. There we go. Anyhow, let me just tell you that we're going to have a great show for you today. But without further ado, let's pass it on to El Estudio with El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beba.
And a good morning to Vancouver. Why the heck not?
Why the heck not?
Hey, you sound like you're talking in a barrel, so we'll let you solve that while we get to Jack's this morning.
I hope this is better. This is just a new mic that I'm using and getting used to how close or how far I need to be from it.
Okay.
Well, they're paying you so much you can get a new microphone?
Oh no, actually it's a recycled microphone, because actually what they're paying me for our wonderful audience that's listening is a grand quantity of zero.
I know. $1 million show and not a dollar for it.
Not a dollar for it, man.
We are going to go into Fund Drive here pretty soon, so they'll have the opportunity to pay Egberto. They won't pay Egberto, but keep Egberto on here.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
That's the deal.
Keep me on air to do this stuff for free, but I love it.
All right, Jack has a full page of wisdom, and he was telling me about it earlier, so let's get to it.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. Talk to me, my brother.
All right, people, listeners, we are all suffering from the effects of the neoliberal economic policies brought to America by the neoconservatives, the neocons, under the Reagan administration. This economic theory has destroyed every country that was pressured to adopt this theory. The policies were designed to funnel the wealth from the bottom, the workers whose labor and consumption of cheap imported goods is the profit the corporate elites seek. So everything we buy and every hour we work, we enrich the corporate elites as they steal part of your wages and profit of the stupid stuff we all buy. This is the wealth that has been shifted to the top 1% who have grown fat like pigs, lost their integrity and compassion for the people. The people are secondary to their profits. They are just cogs in the machine. They are now starting to use austerity measures on Americans, cutting back on all social services to send us into a panic that is the end game capitalism, as the rich loot the treasuries of the people, hoard that money away as society withers and breaks apart. That's where we're at today, people. Withering away unless we do something, unless we take action.
Oh boy. There ain't nothing like the smell of truth in the morning, is there?
I love truth in the morning. Well, before I get
Smells
started,
like victory.
Oh, there you go.
Smells like victory. Apocalypse Now.
Hey, you remember that movie Apocalypse Now? What was it? Marlon Brando, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now. Yeah.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Oh,
Smells like victory.
I can imagine what it smells like. It's a gasoline and gel. But I can't say that I ever fought a war to actually go see what it's. By the way, were you in the military at all?
No. I avoided the draft because
you had a bone spur.
I had fell in that category where they stopped the draft. I was just old enough to avoid that.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't want to work for the corporate machine anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
when I
part
was
of my yeah.
Nixon stopped the draft when I was 18. He
Yes.
still had to
right.
register, but Nixon did stop the draft. He said, "Nope, we're not killing any more of our people."
Well,
You know,
I
Nixon,
had
he was not a horrible president, but he wasn't a good president either. But compared to the one we have now, whoa, I'll take Nixon any day.
Well, what happened under Nixon is the Powell memorandum and that infiltration of the churches and the courts and everything that was instituted under Nixon. And that's part of the problem we're suffering from today because, the danger of Trump was the 1,700 district judges he appointed under his first administration and the ones that are going to back the policies and enforce them in the public today.
Not all of them. Some of them have told him no. Some of his appointees have said, we ain't doing that.
Well, some have integrity, some don't.
That's
some
true.
love country more than Trump, and some love country more than Trump. But that is pretty good. When I became a citizen, I also had to register for. Actually, when I got my green card, before I became a citizen, I had to register for the Selective Service. So I remember all of that, and what can I say now? But kind of tying off of what you're saying, I think you made me change the order that I was going to talk about this stuff. But first of all, anything else to say before I move on?
We'd love to hijack your show.
Off with the show.
All right. Okay, let's get busy. Anyway, welcome aboard, everybody. Sandra D says, then Reagan. You're right about that. Natalie Lago says, Nixon was a horrible POTUS and a racist too. I'll never forget how I ugly cried in 6th grade when Nixon was elected. Yep, but you know what? What Howard said about Nixon v. Trump, man, I remember when we used to think how bad Nixon was. I remember how dumb we thought Bush second was. Not the first one, the second one was. And Trump came and fulfilled all the prophecies of how bad a president could be because he actually made Nixon look good. Man, if you take a look at some of the policies that came under Nixon, in as much as he was a bad guy, if I remember correctly, I think Environment Department came under him, or I believe. Am I right?
Yes.
And a few other things. And I think he did things like open up the path to China. In fact, I think as I was a toddler, I remember something like that because I was a nerd. You know that? Real nerd. I was watching American politics and all kind of politics during those times. But he was, the same kind of things that Donald Trump is doing to get back at his enemies. That was good old Nixon. Real bad dude. Bean Fan said yes, EPA. Thank you very much, Bean Fan. Likewise, welcome Jane B. in North Carolina, Teresa Fraser, Matthew Ward, Judy, Diane Riggin, Sandra D., Maril Nasala, Lister Waters in Conroe, Texas. I am so proud of Conroe, Texas. They actually stood up as a city. The people stood up and they beat what the right wing was trying to do out there to stop the No Kings March. Welcome aboard as well. Barbara Fetante, great activist out of Austin, Texas. I still remember joining you guys and that great organization out in, I think it was Philadelphia for the convention. Miss Barbara Fetante, those were some great times, positive thinking times. Mary B, welcome aboard. Good morning, she says. Patricia Fustel, Marge KJ, and of course, on our other line, we have Lisa Blair from Austin, Texas, Harry Denson from Missouri City. Great to have you guys here, and Lita Bearcat from Austin. All right, I'm going to start this way. Yesterday, I got a little bit, not upset is the word that I want to use, but concerned about one of our very progressives listeners in the afternoon. And after I take the call from Johnny, I'll go into that story. Johnny, come on in.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. Let me get away from the radio. Richard Nixon was the worst president we ever had at that time. And each progressive and each successive Republican president we had since then was progressively worse. Progressively worse. Richard Nixon, even though some good things he did about the environment and all, that doesn't mean we forgive him, because he was on the same track as Donald Trump is right now. The only difference is there was one or two Republicans with enough common sense, not so mercenary, that they said, hey, we're going to have to kick you out if you don't resign. So he resigned. And then the next guy, Republican Ford, pardoned him. Always frustrating. My whole life watching Republicans try to destroy, and they get away with it. You and I, we suffer consequence. We pay the price. We have to accept the justice, but they get away with it.
Yes,
That's
they
it.
do. There you go. Thank you for that, Johnny. Always keeping it straight. All right. Anyway, so thank you for that, Johnny. Now, what I was speaking yesterday afternoon about AI, I don't think we should ever, in my opinion, stop progress. In other words, if progress is going to happen, and when I say progress, for me, the definition of progress is making things better for humanity. Making things better for humanity. Now, there are a lot of things that are better for humanity, and we have stunted it because somebody couldn't figure out how to make a buck out of it. And that's what capitalism is, right? The formation of these false entities whose sole purpose is to make money for the people who form it. And look, I believe in profit, guys. I believe in everybody being able to get paid for the work that they do. And I believe if there are those of us who are willing to take risks, etc., that that comes with a reward structure, etc. But one of the things that I hate is conflating the two, free enterprise and capitalism, or capitalism and democracy. We conflate those to fool you. And when people get mad at me for talking the way I speak about capitalism, I want to sit down and have a cup of coffee and ask them to define what they want, what they think, etc. And ultimately, it always breaks down that what folks are looking for is free enterprise, not capitalism, because they then understand on their own what the system does to us all and for the minute few. But I'll get off of that. The person said, AI is bad. This was a progressive. It's going to take away a lot of jobs. It's going to do all these bad things. And I couldn't agree more with what he had to say. He was 100% correct. But the title of this segment that I want to talk about is, can left-wingers be as fact-resistant as the right? In other words, we give people on the right a hard time because many a times they're immutable in their thought process. In other words, they adapt let's say a left-wing stance. I'm just using left and right. There's gradations in between, of course, but I'm using just left and right. We normally think of right-wingers as factless, and that no matter how much evidence you show them, that they stay on the same point and they don't change. They're immutable. The question is that a human trait in some, or is that something that is sort of left wing, something you find on the left? And too often, I think I suffered myself from believing that, lefties are fact-based and lefties just get it right because as a progressive, lefties I equate with progressive, when facts, or we are made aware of new facts, we change our stance. And that's how personally I try to be. In other words, I don't care where an idea is coming. I used to have a phrase where I would say, if a conservative give me a good idea, I'm going to take that idea and add it to the progressive repertoire, because I think that's the definition of progressive. If something works better, if something is better for humanity, then that's what I consider a progressive value. So as an example, conservatives have a tendency to want people to have more skin in the game than I used to believe in the past. And a conservative went and they brought up statistics to show that that is true. That again, when you have skin in a game, that you feel ownership in something, intrinsically you do better by that thing. So there are things like public housing, a public housing just for free, as opposed to public housing for free with a degree of ownership. People take care of things much better. So I've adapted that stance. It wasn't a very progressive stance. I've adapted it because it works. It works, and this person showed me that it worked, and I changed my opinion, and I said, thank you very much. Now, yesterday as we were discussing AI, this guy that's a progressive said AI doesn't work, and I gave the explanation. I mean, it's going to kill jobs and it's bad for humanity. And I gave him an example as far as what's really bad isn't AI, it is the economic system that would be driving AI. As activists, many of us, our goal then isn't to kill progress for humanity. Our goal is to kill that which makes AI work for the few and not for the many. And I said what we needed to do was change the economic system in such a manner that it protects us from what the billionaire class would use AI for, which is, with AI, I can fire 75% of my people. With AI, I can fire 75% of my people. And what happens to the rest, right? The free market, not the capital market, the free market would actually, in the long run, solve some of the problem, in that if you fire all of the workers, eventually there won't be enough people around to sustain the growth of your company or enterprise, etc. That's all dependent on AI. But that takes time, and people suffer in the long run. So I don't believe in using people as the financial experiment, which means let the billionaires start losing money before humanity kicks in. So I said what we need to do is change away from an economic system that is extractive, an economic system where people come first. Like I've explained many times on panels, when I'm on panels where there are a mix of left-wingers and right-wingers, the first thing the right-winger, the capitalist, would say in that meeting when we're talking about solutions is, how does that affect business? While my first question is, how does that affect your standard of life? How does that affect humanity? That's a difference of opinion. Well, now this progressive person, after I went through that whole explanation as far as changing the system, his final answer was AI is just bad. AI is just bad. We need to stop it. And then when I pushed a little bit further, it was like, change will never happen. To which my next question is, what the hell am I doing here? Why did I and many others that are doing this work give up the capitalist system of profiting on your backs to come and say there's a better way? And we believe in a better way, and it's not on faith, it's on it happening in other places. And just like yesterday, so many other people came and told us stories about, how great it is in countries that adapt this system, that adapt a system that puts humanity first, how to take care of your kids first, how to take care of your home life first, how to ensure that you have not a couple weeks of strained vacation where you're still being called by your boss, but real vacation, getting away, humanity first. That one person put me into thinking about the human trait of not being left and right, but actually being immutable in your thought process. And that some, let's say even on the left, just happen to have landed on the right side of the clock. In other words, not that their thinking was one that opens itself for expansion, but that they were just on the right side of the clock. And that is what I think all of us have to be beware of. All of us have to be aware that not because you have a progressive title means that you're open to listen to others and adapt that which is better for all of us, but that some people just landed in the right place. And the converse to that is that probably means that a lot of people on the right are not immutable, and that something that I've talked about all the time, that a lot of this is culture, and they are simply culturally on the right, but are just as good a thinker in processes as someone, a real progressive, on the left. Just some food for thought. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce. Line number 1. Okay, I think Bruce is going to come in a little bit, and you're going to hear him say, am I on? Am I on? All right, while Bruce is coming on, let me just say, okay, Bruce is here.
Hello?
Come on in, Bruce. Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, I got 3 quick. First, I get paid Saturday. I want to be one of the first to do a $100 pledge. The second thing.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate that.
Bob Woodward saying Nixon did some good things is like saying the Titanic had a great pool room. The last thing I want to say is dissent is American as apple pie. When Vance yesterday said that the upcoming No Kings protests were anti-American, I'm looking for the feds to try to provoke a Kent State or Alamo situation so that Trump can institute the Insurrection Act. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Bruce. A lot of people are concerned about that. I am a little less concerned because of how vast I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be so big and in so many little places. In other words, you're not going to see it on TV, right? But they'll have big ones in New York City and Chicago and Houston and Dallas. There'll be big ones. But I think the beauty of what to expect on Saturday is that Timbuktu is going to have 10 and 15 and 20 and 30 people all over the country, because that's the way it's lined up. That's why they're so scared. You notice they just jump on the bandwagon. You see the leader of Indivisible, I can't remember his name right now. He has the map, or it's been showing the map of all these independent people all over the country, and it's in places that you would never hear of. So as far as tamping down people or clamping down or martial law, all that kind of stuff, they may institute it. It doesn't take that to institute. Ezra Levin, thank you very much, Adam W. Ezra Levin. So I expect it to be huge, and I expect it not to be televised. And what that means is, for those that are listening, whether in small town or large towns, please make your cameras do the talking, and also please remember to post it all over. They're gonna try to make it look like it's less than it's gonna be, but it's that. Thank you for that as well, Cheryl Elkins, Ezra Levin. They're gonna make you think it's less than it is. Natalie Lugo says, Egberto, I'm concerned that Trump administration will use the No King protest this weekend to authorize military force against protesters. There are safety classes that are out. In fact, Charlie Lindahl, who went to the safety class online, sent me all the information as far as keeping safe. So folks, let me just tell you, go out there and execute your First Amendment rights. Go out there and be peaceful, be loving. When you have those, the terrorists that are being minted by the other side, just answer them not with a fighting words or to escalate anything. Love on them. That's all some of these folks need, just a little bit of love. So don't be the instigator of something, and have it everything on camera. Have your cell phones out so that everybody can see everything that is happening. We'll have a safe time out there. Let's see. Adam W says, I just discovered audiobooks for the first time. Oh, really? Oh, good for you, buddy. Egberto, after a lifetime of reading mostly hardcover books, I have just discovered the drive-through lane for books. Now I can become fatter and lazier by listening to audiobooks. I was wondering which ones you suggest I read first. Oh, wow. You're talking about my books. Yeah. I try to, just to get a flavor of what I do. The Afro-Latino Caribbean Man book that I wrote is a good start. But I'm fond of my very first one, which is called As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And the reason why is I think that's a good entry point into that I did into economics of the economics of the United States and the presidents. But, I can't push any of that because this is public radio, but you get what I'm saying. Let's go to Bard. Bard, come on in, line 2.
Good morning, Egberto. I hope you had a good Columbus Day.
And I don't celebrate Columbus Day, but I imagine that you do.
Oh, yes, I do. It was great. I had the day off and enjoyed myself.
Good for you.
I want to say a heartfelt congratulations and thank you to President Trump for facilitating this peace deal between Israel and Hamas. The first time in human history, Jews and Arabs cheering together in the street.
Really?
We could win the Nobel Prize, the humanitarian award. You stopped the killing, but they gave it to a lady in Venezuela. But the funny thing is, she called President Trump and offered it to him.
Yeah.
So
wow.
he would have accepted it if he would.
All right, let me hold on a second, Bart. I want to show you something. I hope you heard the first part of my discussion about people who are immutable no matter what the facts say, right? So I'm going to figure out where you stand on that list right now. Your statement was you simply listened to what the propaganda that the Trump people put out, right? First time Jews and Palestinians in peace, etc., etc., etc. The reality is, Donald Trump allowed, with our bombs, our taxpayer dollars, Netanyahu to go and pretty much decimate a large percentage of Gaza. Decimate it, blew it up, kill innocent women, children, with American bombs under the leadership of both Biden and Donald Trump. Biden doesn't get off scot-free here because they allowed Netanyahu to do all of this. Okay, so that's a fact. Likewise, after just about everything that was bombable of value to these guys were done, Israel made a big mistake and bombed, I forgot the name of the city, of one of Qatar, in Qatar, that is one of Donald Trump's buddies, right? And that upset Donald Trump. And Donald Trump finally clamped in Netanyahu and said, okay, now we're going to have a deal. Those are facts. Right? In other words, if Netanyahu didn't make the mistake and go after Trump's friend that, gives him quite a bit of cash, then that would not have happened. That's number 2. Now, that said, I hope you jumped the gun on me, Howard, so I'm going to have to give you credit for it. Come on into the discussion, Howard, if you're right there. Come on into the discussion. Damn it. You messed with... are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Well, look, you tell our brother Bart about Camp David, because that's where I was heading next. As far as the biggest, actually, that is the biggest, absolute biggest peace plan in that region between Egypt and Israel. Talk about it, and then I'll come back in.
Yeah, the 1979 Camp David Accords that Jimmy Carter put together. You want to talk about Arabs and Israelis?
Jews.
Yeah, Jews. That was their peace accord in 1979. So it's not the first, and it's not even the strongest that Trump put together. In fact, it's a rebranded Biden plan.
Yes.
It's a rebranded Biden plan. Biden had planned this out. So, Bart, please get your information right before you call in.
And that is one of the things that I said, whether we're going to find out if Bart is immutable or not. And Bart, what we do is we're bringing the receipts. The Camp David Accord was nothing like this accord. Right now, there is no agreement. There's a 20-point wish list, right? But there's no agreement. Hamas, none of that. There's no agreement to a two-state solution. There's no agreement at all on any of these issues. So while you had great fanfare and you had I think it was the Prime Minister of Pakistan talking so nicely about Donald Trump, they all realize one thing. You be nice to Donald Trump, your tariffs get reduced. You say a few good words about Donald Trump, you get a few bucks in some sort of a deal. And that's all yesterday was about. Anybody who studies history and anybody who understands government understand exactly what happened yesterday. And one of the things I said on my afternoon show is, I am not going to do what the mainstream media is doing, which was giving Donald Trump for kudos for something that, first of all, hasn't happened. And secondly, only happened because not Israel, but Netanyahu and his goons blew up in trying to find some Hamas leaders. I can't remember the name of the city. Blew up that city. I mean, that apartment where these people were supposed to be, and allowed also Netanyahu to decimate Gaza. There's no Nobel Peace Prize there. There's nothing good that happened there. So that's my answer to you. Now that I've explained these things that you can actually Google and find the actual stories about it, I imagine you still think he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, right?
The point is, we have peace now. You guys go back to the 70s. Say Biden did it. Biden botched the Afghanistan fall.
Okay. That now my friends. Okay, thank you, Bart, and you have a wonderful day. That is what we call immutable. That is a definition of immutable. There's no amount of facts that's going to let him say, "Oh, I didn't realize that." Ah, okay. All right. Anyway, folks. So I think Bart calling in from the right, and my good friend from the left that called into my show yesterday proves that we just have to work together and work with those who can be changed, whose minds can change when new facts arise. And if we just keep that in mind, I think we can all speak together. Johnny is on again. Something must have tickled Johnny's fancy. What's up, Johnny?
Yeah, here's an eye-opener, so to speak, for our friend Bart. Bart, go back on YouTube and look at Donald Trump's body language when they were offering him, Netanyahu gave him that letter recommending him for the Peace Prize, and when other times they thanked him for the peace in the Middle East. What did Donald Trump's body language reveal? He closes his eyes. He looks down. He does that, and he holds his mouth a certain way. That indicates that he knows he doesn't deserve the accolades he's getting. He does this over and over again, Bart. Body language does not lie. Only Republicans do.
Okay, Johnny. Thank you, my brother. Johnny had to get that one in, man. Johnny had to get that one in. Anyway, so that was the first subject of the day. The second subject of the day is, I give the mainstream media a hard time. I really do. And the reason why is that they just let too much slide. And one of the things that you see, the reason you see quite a few people that are immutable is also because of the media and what the media does. And whenever they do something good, I always have to call it out. And the reason why I think is when people do the right thing, calling them out for doing the right thing, I think it's important. So I want you to listen to this. I think it'll play. Then we'll take it on the other side. Well, Vice President JD Vance appeared on several morning shows this morning. And the one that I really sort of appreciated was the one with George Stephanopoulos, where George Stephanopoulos visibly got upset in his questioning on just about everything, because it turns out that JD Vance is one of the best liars. He just simply lies much smoother than Donald Trump is able to do. But the one that got him caught was pretty much the one on Tom Holmes, the ICE director. And he was unable to answer the questions, and he just bloviated, and he tries to tell George Stephanopoulos the reason why your show is losing viewers is because you concentrate on all this junk. Look, I'm not posting or videoing what he had to say, what the vice president had to say on all these other issues, because I won't be a promoter of the lies that he tells. But there is one in particular that I think bears mentioning. So I want you guys to watch this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong, instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Now, note how George Stephanopoulos, even though he know that the vice president wanted to say something else, simply cut him off and said, we'll be right back, etc. The vice president wanted to imply that because Holman wasn't charged by Trump's Justice Department, that somehow he was innocent. We all know the guy is, based on the information we had, took $50,000 in a setup. And we can't get them to admit whether he kept the money, he paid taxes on the money, or whatever. And it is a scandal. Tom Homan got $50,000 in a sting operation, and we don't exactly know what has happened to it. In a government that constantly talk about corruption from the other side, etc., which really, for the most part, isn't existent as it is on the side of the Republicans. Take a look at how many Republicans have been convicted versus Democrats being convicted by any Justice Department. And that is very clear that we have one party that has more of an affinity to corruption than the other. And that is not a political statement. That is not a partisan statement. It is a statement of fact that we find these bribes more often successful on one side than the other in practice and in reality. But anyhow, that George Stephanopoulos made him look so small in dismissing the vice president of the United States and moving on to the other subject is the kind of deference we should give all of these crooks in the current administration, and beginning with the president proper. Beginning with the president proper. Reyes Nunez, good morning as well from Katy, Texas. And Barbara Andrade, welcome aboard. I read your statement. All right, come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Howard.
And thank you for that minute speech by Peter White that preceded Politics Today. And strong good morning to Rachel Willis, who is always on point, teaching America the truth and putting the truth out. Now I'll get to this piece deal. If Donald Trump really cared about the other side, which is the Judean people, the Shia people in this piece deal, he would not have made the comment that the way he puts it, the Palestinians should concentrate on rebuilding their country instead of bombing Israel. Well, Trump, if that's all you can say about the Palestinians, you are so out of touch. Their land was stolen from them. That's why Hamas, the PLO, and Hezbollah, and the Fatah were created, because they were pushing back against the Zionist thug and the thugs that preceded him from stealing their land, and these Israelis that think that the Palestinians should go somewhere and die. And my thinking is, like Dr. Cornell West, they should learn to live in solidarity. A lot of them came there, migrants there, they converted to Judaism, and the indigenous people have a right to that land, and they should learn to live in solidarity, as Dr. West said.
That was a place, Harry. That was a. Oh, okay, Harry. That was a place where. Okay, Harry. Okay.
In 79, but not the Vegas, and I watched that 1979.
I got you, Harry.
Put that deal together.
I got you, Harry. Thank you very much. Let me just say one thing. I think everybody wants to live in harmony, and every life is precious. Absolutely, every life is precious, whether Jewish or Palestinian. I am for peace. I am for togetherness, etc., etc. John A. Davis says rhetorical games don't get to the facts, and Republicans have been playing that game forever. And when they're in power, the results are quite evident. Thank you for that, John A. Davis. March KJ, welcome, sis, says, I don't think he cares. He's just a whiny and Republican. I'm not going. March KJ, I hear you, girl. All right, Jimmy, come on in.
Today was a great day. We got the hostages released, and we have a peace deal between Hamas and Israel. Now, the problem in the future is Hamas going to be peaceful, and are they going to go back to shooting people and so forth? So I hope the peace deal lasts. And I do give Trump credit for a lot of that. He has leadership qualities, and he got help get the job done over there. So I think yesterday was really a great day. It was really, really good seeing those families greet their friends back who had been hostages for 2 years. So it was a great day. It's a day to remember, and hopefully the peace deal will last, but it's going to be up to Hamas to be peaceful and to not start shooting or trying to kill Israeli people.
Jimmy, let me just say this, okay? It was a good day in my opinion, and this is my opinion. It was a great day for the hostages to be released back into the hands of people. I agree with that 100%. It was a great day that Trump was able to do something to stop the bombing, to stop Netanyahu from killing. I agree with that wholeheartedly. What I think is my biggest concern is you're a good person, and I want you to listen to what you've said. As a good person, you saw the good in all of this stopping, right? As somebody who's watching this continuously, my other question is, why did both Biden and Trump wait till so many Palestinians died from the destruction of an infrastructure that's going to take likely 15 years to rebuild? why didn't we? Why didn't we go ahead and given the amount of pull we have with Israel, well, not with, let's say, Netanyahu specifically, why didn't we force him to do what any other country would do when a terrorist act occurs, right? Solve that particular problem, not decimate a whole other country or commonwealth or whatever into polvo, into a powder, and that is my biggest concern. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, Netanyahu was a war criminal. He was over there killing Palestinians, blocking food aid, causing people to starve. Netanyahu and Israel were war criminals, mainly Netanyahu, since he's the leader of the country. So he should be put on trial for all the people he killed unnecessarily,
right,
by his actions of starving people and shooting people.
And you know what else, Jimmy? There's another thing that a lot of people don't quite know, even though it's been in the news. Haaretz, one of the major newspapers in Israel, has been reporting this for a while. I think it was the United Arab Emirates or one of these Arab countries that are fairly friendly with Israel. They have been funding Hamas, and many times Netanyahu was advising these guys to continue funding Hamas. And one of the reasons he wanted Hamas funded is because he wanted a backstop to the Palestinian Authority, because he doesn't want a Palestinian state. And he figures if he can keep the chaos, the things that all these countries do, if he could keep the chaos going, that it'll ensure that there wasn't a Palestinian state. So in effect, one can actually attribute some of the doings of Hamas directly onto Netanyahu's policies, which makes him partially guilty, in my humble opinion. Your thoughts?
I agree with that. Yeah, Netanyahu's a very bad guy. He was the second worst person in the world behind Putin, and he needs to go on trial for all the unnecessary killing and starving of people that he did to the people of Palestine and Gaza.
Right. Well, anyway, thank you, Jimmy, for your always thought. Check this out. For your always thoughtful thoughts, Jimmy.
Well, I'm glad I'm able to post them on the air for your huge audience worldwide.
Well, look, brother, let me just tell you, I'm glad to have you here. Thank you very much. We have great people listening. I look at the chat, and I just love my folks in the chat as well. Anyway, let's see. John A. Davis says, I'm glad the hostages have been released, but Palestinians are not involved into the ceasefire. And until they have their own state, there will be no peace. The ceasefire will only be temporary. I have to agree 100% with Brother Davis there. He also says maybe increase taxes on the owners and redistribute that to the rest of us by law. Yeah, look, I think when it comes to, I think you're talking about AI, if I'm not mistaken. Qatar now has a base in the U.S. Yeah, it is. They had to correct that statement, John. The Hexet came out and said, "Oh, I don't mean that we're building a base for Qatar. I mean that they're going to be training on the base." You know what it really means? It really means that we're selling our country out, which Donald Trump sells out everything. Anyway, all right. It's amazing. I'm going because I didn't get a lot of calls today. 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. But because I didn't get all these calls, I can actually get to my third subject. And the third subject is a hit piece that was made against Mandani. And I'm going to go into more than the hit piece. Basically, I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to tell you about what it's talking about. Whenever you have somebody that's outside of the box, as you all know, Mamdani is a democratic socialist, and he's not ashamed to say it, nor should he be ashamed to say that at all. Because he's the kind of guy that believes in the policy that successfully implemented in places like Sweden, Norway, Denmark, etc., which puts a high price on people's happiness, on their well-being. So one of the things that he wants to do in New York is to have a free transit system. In other words, people drive the bus and they get around town without having to pay. But in effect, we all pay. All our taxes pay. And, this guy wanted to make a big deal that this city of 7 million, more than 7 million people, it's going to cost about $800 million to do that. And he says just 800 million. And they gave him the third degree for saying 800 million is not a lot of money. And for those services, 800 million is not a lot of money. And it's something that the city can afford, would make the city run better for all the people that have issues getting to. I mean, it'll do so many good things. No longer is there going to be an excuse that I couldn't get to work because I didn't have my bus fare. I couldn't get to work because I don't have a car. I couldn't get to work because of it. It increases all these possibilities by having a transit system that everybody can use, and it gives everybody full mobility in the city. The only difference is the more you make, the richer you are, you likely pay a tad bit more taxes to cover that mobility for everybody. But guess what? As a rich person who depends on the system to make your profits, that is good for you as well. But these these real capitalists don't see it that way. If they don't find a way to extract money or to have you pay instead of them, the policy is no good. And that is what we have to get out. There are all these hit pieces in the New York Times and the Washington Post that constantly tries to knock on Mamdani because of the biggest fear. And that is that people realizing that when you do for the masses, you help society at large, and you give people what's known as agency in their city. And people with agency in their city, as you can find in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, are happier people. The wealthy gets a tad less wealthy, but wealthy nonetheless. But you get a more happy society. I got a call, so let me do that and we can continue this discussion at another time. Come on in, John. You're on, John.
Hello.
Yes.
My name's Karen, not John.
Oh, Karen. Come on in, Karen. Sorry about that.
Yes, I have an expression that there's nothing more American than Mom, the flag, apple pie, and the second guess. So have a good morning.
Thank you very much. What was the last one? What was the last one that Karen said? Did any of you hear it? What was the last item? Did you hear that? Okay, I guess not. Okay. Karen, I didn't hear what the last one was, so drop me a line and tell me what the last one was. But that's good. Wilma Scott, the only reason Trump pushed this deal has nothing to do with the moral imperative, but solely with his ego. Happy the hostages are home, but I'm acutely aware of Trump's arming of Israel during the war in Gaza and the deaths of thousands of Palestinians, men and women. Thousands of Palestinians. There is no agreement on the establishment of a Palestinian state, I guess. Yeah, if Karen may have said, I thought I heard second, but I didn't hear Second Amendment, right? So who knows what she was trying to say. Anyhow, we are at 54, so I'm going to pass it on to the studio before I give my final comments.
Oh, nothing much here. Jack, you got something?
Yeah, I just read a headline. The coral reef collapse drives world across first climate tipping point. The problem is 30 years of climate denial by the right. John Foster Dulles' ideology was you don't want agreement, you want division. It increases economic exploitation. That's the root of immigration policy and the Israeli conflict. They don't fix it because they don't want it fixed.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what conflict can do, right? If you can keep people simply upset at all of the times, then that is exactly right. That is exactly right. Conflict allows people to be exploited, and there is absolutely no doubt that's the reason we have the type of conflict that we have today. It is by design, and that's why one of the things that we do here is we believe in speaking to everybody. And that little soliloquy I gave up front about if people being immutable, I think it's important to realize that out of the door. All right, folks, I want to let you know that you can get the rest of the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Again, I can be reached at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, and I do answer my email. Sometimes it takes me some time. Like right now, I got up this morning and my inbox was over 3,000, but I clean it down. And by the way, that's after through AI. Anyway, so let me just tell you that you can reach me at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. I believe in what we're doing, what we're trying to do. I believe in building a better country, all of us together. That's the only way it gets done. I believe that we have to take the power away from those who have stolen that power, and we are going to do that. Don't forget, October 18, No King's March. You got to be there. Anyway, love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to The American